Well, hello again, YouTube. It's Petey Two Finger, and I am here with some Mullard 950 germanium transistors. These come from a seller in the Czech Republic. His eBay store is XRIPLEY. So these are black glass Mullard 950 OC140, and they're perfect choice if you're building a rangemaster or for Q1 in a fuzz face. Now, looking at the definitive article that was written on rangemaster is written by a guy, R.G. Keene, and what he describes doing is the process that we went through in the assembly of this rangemaster here. This is built with metal film 1% resistors, box capacitors, metal film box capacitors, polarized axial electrolytic capacitors, and our black glass Mullard 950. This is going to be an excellent sounding circuit, a fantastic rangemaster. Now, R.G. Keene has written a letter, an instruction pamphlet on biasing, which means each one of these transistors, they're like snowflakes. Not one is the same, they're all different. And you can take the shotgun approach and build it with a biasing resistor and hope that your active falls within the range of what it was designed for. Okay. The reality of it is not all of these transistors are that much alike. Some are way off. And how you compensate for that is in the process that's called biasing. And all this is, when you finish the circuit, you take your meter, your multimeter, you have the ground hooked up to the negative side, and the positive, you go to the collector. The transistor has three legs. There's a collector, a base, and an emitter. So you ground out your meter, and then you go up to the collector, you apply power to the circuit, and you see what voltage are you reading there. And a well biased, like what you're looking for is 7 volts. Okay. Now, there's 2 resistors in the circuit that can affect this, but it's a main one, but there's another one that's kind of its buddy. The 3K9 and the 68K resistors. Oftentimes, guys, when they design these circuits, they will have a adjuster. They'll have a trimmer potentiometer installed. Other times guys just use fixed resistors and just hope, hey, it'll be in the ballpark. You know, they're not going for, like, we want to maximize the circuit and tune it so that all of the components are working together at their optimal configuration. And that transistor, having some of them being low, some of them being high, that's where it's going to affect it. Where if you just have a manual, you don't bias it, you don't check it out or hook the meter up and look or compensate, you will either have you'll have a misbiased circuit. And there's a range of misbiasing that's acceptable, and then there's where it really affects the way that the circuit sounds, and that circuit will be misbiased. And you know, when it comes to multiple transistor, like fuzz face circuits, a misbiased fuzz face, some people like that sound. People call it a Velcro fuzz if it's misbiased a certain way. For a rangemaster, misbiasing it isn't going to make it sound cool. It's never desirable to have the single transistor circuit known as the rangemaster treble booster misbiased. You want it operating optimally. This is where the transistor is getting the exact amount of gas or current that it needs to function as it was designed optimally. So what R.G. Keene describes in his pamphlet is building your board minus those two resistors that affect the bias. And then what you do, you take two potentiometers, attach wires to them. Now, potentiometer is a variable resistor. Okay, so we built our circuits minus these two resistors. Can you guess what we're going to do? Well, you attach wires to the variable resistor, the potentiometers. You hook each one up to the multimeter, and you turn it with the multimeter on till it reads the same value as the biasing resistor. So you have one at 68K and another one at 3.9K. And then you attach those, you attach your power, and you attach the meter, and you see how much do I need to adjust. And you know, if you're getting funky transistors and they're off, you're going to need to monkey with it. You're going to need to adjust the value. You're going to need to turn these potentiometers to get 7 volts, and then you disconnect the temporary adjustable resistors, connect them back to the multimeter, and see what is the reading of each one of these. Then you have to try to use a combination of resistors to hit that number and solder those in on, you know, the points of the circuit board where the 68K resistor and the 39K resistor normally live. And then you'll have a perfectly biased fuzz face, rangemaster. So it's a really cool idea of doing it this way, and we've got what I did, I used my wire stripper and I stripped some wire, and I put I pulled the core of the wire out, and I put that over the legs of the transistor. It's a little long, and then I put some heat shrink tubing over it, and I stuck it into there's 3 sockets that you plug the transistor in. So we've got the transistor in. I've got a 9-volt power source connected, and I've got my meter, and we're going to see how does the rangemaster bias with one of XRIPLEY's Mullard 950 NPN germanium transistor. Now mind you, this is an NPN version, it's not the PNP, so the numbers we're going to see on our circuit are not going to be minus, they're going to be plus. And look at that. It's biasing exactly at 7 volts. It's biasing at 7 volts. So at this point, I can unsolder. My meter was off and now it came back on. It's this goofy meter. Iron. It's going to take a minute for that to heat back up. At this point, I'm a very happy boy because I know my job is done. And you could, when you have transistors that are this good, you could build it stock and not worry about biasing it, which is like, I've never built a circuit and turned it on and see it hit the bias voltage. I've never seen that. I have never seen that. I've never, and I've done a lot of this. So, but I tend to cop out at that point when it's like, I gotta trust this guy. He lives in Loznia, Tucson, Czech Republic, and is he gonna do the right thing and send me this awesome transistor? Or is he going to go through them all, pull all the good ones out for himself, and then send me the bad ones? Which is that's what's happened to me before. So when I say it is of utmost importance when you're building germanium, classic germanium circuits, that you find yourself a reputable supplier in purchasing your transistors. Nothing beats slapping a circuit together over the period of a couple hours, going through all this extra jumping through hoops, setting up these temporary resistor pots, tweaking them to their value, soldering them in, and then hooking everything up, turning it on, and seeing that magical number of 7 volts. It's absolute mind-blowing. It's never happened. So when I say it is of utmost importance that you locate a reputable supplier if you're going to be building with germanium transistors, it really is nice being able to just build the circuit the way the circuit was designed, and when you have the actual proper components, see the circuit bias itself out without any additional modification or component substitution. Which, I mean, it isn't the end of the world. But when you're in the position that I'm in at this point in my life, knowing that I have this properly biased rangemaster that has a really excellent, appropriate NPN germanium transistor, it does give me that extra reassurance and feeling good and feeling confident about my gear. There is that thing where they'll call it mojo and they'll write it off as being worthless. Well, in some cases, the mojo stuff is really is real. It really is, and even if it's going to be only you can hear the difference. Well, if it makes you happy and it gives you the confidence to play better, then more power to you. And maybe you owe yourself that. Maybe you've been doing this long enough and compromising by buying whatever you may find, going into your local music store and buying whatever pedal has just come out that's mass manufactured with surface mount components from China. But for me, you know what, I'm going to leave that on there. I'm at the point in my career as a guitar player where I've really shifted gears and I'm not playing with a real lot of distortion anymore. I'm playing cleaner. The distortion that I'm using, I'm much more picky about, and that's what this rangemaster is all about. And in order to really get that, you really do need a proper germanium transistor. So I'm happier than a pig in slop. These transistors came up perfect, on the money. I turned it on and they were biased, and that's really cool. And the end result of this is I'm going to be putting together a piece of music to demonstrate what this circuit sounds like with the proper transistor in it. So there's going to be a demo video for this. Thank you for joining me. If this is your first video on this topic, there's a couple other ones where I explain this in great detail. So thank you for joining me on this one. There's going to be more coming. A special huge thanks to Peter. Thank you, Peter. Your transistors went to a really good home. Really did. I this is really going to make me happy, isn't it, Donna? Mm-hmm. I play in a duo with my wife, and we make our own original music, and I've just been using boosts. So I've got the rangemaster, I've got a Demeter Fat Control, which is a mid boost, and then I've got the EP boost, which is more low end. I got a bass boost, a treble boost, and a mid boost, all in one enclosure. And I run that in the effects loop of my new XNG30, which is an amp modeler. And it's like I have found my tonal home. And these transistors are a big part of that. So super huge extra special thanks go out to XRIPLEY for having faith in me to demonstrate how good your transistors are, because I got to tell you, these are the best germaniums I've ever ran across. They honestly are. And you're not asking a ridiculous price. They're a very fair price. So You guys, hug your pets, stay cool. I'll see you soon, and peace.